We now turn to our colleague and friend, Nguyen An Tuan, Chief Executive Officer of the Boston Global Forum, for concluding thoughts on this policy lab, Transatlantic Approaches on Digital Governance, a New Social Contract in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. Welcome, Tuan.
Thank you. We have wonderful and historical event, 3 days, Memorial Days. Thank you so much. We launched, discussed the social contract for AI age. We introduced new concept, intellectual society, smart democracy, and we introduce new, very important initiative, that's the AIWS and AI Social Contract Index. So we invite member of Club de Madrid, World Leadership Alliance Club de Madrid, and our people open to join us, to sign, to support, endorse the social contract for the AI age. And next step, we continue to also invite you contribute and support for the AI social contract index. Also, next step, we are honored to do more with the World Leadership Alliance Club de Madrid, and we are practice now. We need practice for social contract for the AI age by AIWS City, and we invite members of Club de Madrid join as distinguished members of AIWS City, and we are very, very grateful to thank Massachusetts government and MIT support for the social contract for the AI age, and we are continue work with World Leadership Alliance Club de Madrid is a very special strategic partner of Boston Global Forum. We contribute intellectual capital from AIWS.net, from Center for AI and Digital Policy. We do together with Club de Madrid to make our beautiful dream happen, and we are have a lot of wonderful things ahead to do in next month with policy dialogue and also initiative in next year. And we thank very much for our great speakers, great participants, discussion, and also from heart thank for my colleagues from Boston Global Forum, Michael Dukakis Institute, and also we thank for great and dear friends from World Leadership Alliance Club Madrid work together with us for fantastic event, 3-day event, memorial event, and historical event. Thank you so much, a lot, and also we do more ahead. Thank you.
Thank you to these generous and insightful comments. It is now my great pleasure to introduce the Secretary General of the World Leadership Alliance, Club de Madrid, Ms. Maria Elena Agüero, for final reflections and to close this policy lab, Transatlantic Approaches on Digital Governance, a New Social Contract in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. Welcome, Maria Elena.
Thank you, Milburn. Thank you, Milburn, and good afternoon to everybody. Now we've come to the closing of our policy lab on Transatlantic Approaches on Digital Governance, a New Social Contract in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. And on behalf of the World Leadership Alliance, Club de Madrid, I would like first of all to recognize the excellent partnership we have forged with the Boston Global Forum and its outstanding group of scholars in co-organizing this timely discussion, and thank Nguyen Antoine, its CEO, and of course Governor Michael Dukakis, its founder, for their support and collaboration. I especially want to thank the generous contribution and visionary leadership of Mr. Nguyen Van Phuong, chairman of Tram Hoang Can Hoa Company, for making this policy lab possible, and for his continued commitment to the work led collaboratively by the Boston Global Forum and the Club de Madrid. I'd also obviously like to recognize the members of the Club de Madrid for their commitment to working on this critical issue for democracy in the context of transatlantic relationships, global cooperation, and multilateralism, but most importantly, in the context of the present and the future well-being of our societies and our citizens. The breadth and depth of the sole presence of digitalization and artificial intelligence in our lives is truly daunting. Today, made all the more evident by the COVID-19 pandemic that has increased and accelerated existing challenges, even while making us realize many of the opportunities that they provide. COVID-19 has been an important wake-up call for the change on AI and digital policies. All of this is what is behind the call for a new social contract on artificial intelligence, for which our partners at the Boston Global Forum have been advocating and have presented to us in this policy lab, much as the need to find a proper way to regulate the use of technology and reduce its abusive use while generating greater social trust. Many Club de Madrid and Boston Global Forum members, advisors, and experts contributed with their knowledge and leadership experience to the discussions we've had over the past 3 days. A final report with the actionable recommendations and proposals that we have had the privilege to hear and discuss will be produced. And we will, of course, continue to bring these ideas to the attention of current decision makers through our activities and those of our members and of our partners. Since its foundation, the Club de Madrid has worked to strengthen democracy through the voice and agency of its members, all democratic former presidents and prime ministers from around the globe. But our activity isn't only carried out at the national level or at a national level. We have naturally addressed a number of issues on the international agenda, such as climate change, terrorism, gender and inclusion, always from a democratic perspective, and always taking into account the diversity and variety of stakeholders as we aim to add value to a process of shaping and crafting our future together that must include us all. During these 3 days, we have addressed the growth and role of digital transformation and artificial intelligence, which are today impacting almost every facet of our lives. Thus, an increasingly critical element in the evolution of the multilateral system. Of the many challenges to be addressed in the field of digitalization and artificial intelligence, we are convinced of the need to strengthen an ethical, inclusive, and transparent system centered around human beings, where human rights and a rules-based order are respected and their fundamental importance recognized. One of our very important partners in this policy lab has of course been the UN, the United Nations, and the UN 75 process. Our discussions and recommendations are in fact part of the global multi-stakeholder conversations that the UN 75 process has been conducting and will continue to have into 2021 and beyond. So that is one concrete landing pad already. In this sense, the Club de Madrid, together with the Boston Global Forum and other partners, will continue to work towards the reinvigoration and strengthening of a multilateral system capable of managing the increasing complexity of global challenges and their consequences, as well as of a strengthened transatlantic alliance that will support that multilateral system. It is up to us to use what we have heard and learned in these discussions and to share it as broadly and as effectively as possible. We ask you to make it your own and to move it forward. It is fundamental that the construction of a digital future will have to be guided by leaders. and it must take into account the needs and interests of many across the world, properly incorporating values that have historically united us on both sides of the Atlantic: democracy, the rule of law, social inclusion and trust, as well as fairness and equity, and so many others. This with respect to the transatlantic approaches. We have highlighted in this policy lab these approaches, but we must also find ways of understanding the views of others and engaging with them in constructive dialogue, much as we must find ways of empowering global institutions. This is what will allow us to achieve that consensus on governance and a governance framework for building a humane digital future for all. Again, we have to ensure that human beings will govern the process, managing digitalization and artificial intelligence. Otherwise, the process may end up governing us, for technology moves fast, much faster than policymaking. These discussions will continue in the coming months. We will in fact be undertaking further exchanges on reinvigorating different aspects of multilateralism and the multilateral system in various policy labs, which will culminate in our annual policy dialogue that will be held again in a virtual format from the 28th to the 30th of October. On that occasion, we will again look at the challenges of digitalization as a key element for the future of multilateralism. The recommendations coming from this policy lab of these past 3 days will be very much a part of that policy dialogue, when the Boston Global Forum and its scholars will again be important partners. We count on all of you for your contributions to this process, and we thank you again for your interest, your participation, and your support. Until the end of October then. Thank you very, very much. Goodbye.